turning on a thin black sheet of glass. She saw both the lives flash before her eyes. She didn't even have time to cry. She was so...
Susan Smith and Travis Decker. What do these cases and many others have in common? Let's dive deeper. Susan Smith. For those of you who aren't familiar with the case, I was not. Somebody mentioned this in one of my comments. I decided to dive a little deeper, and I want to know what all of you think as well. Little history on the Susan Smith case. Susan Smith rolled her car into the South Carolina lake with her 2 sons strapped inside. And America watched in horror. But what if I told you that her case wasn't unique anymore? 30 years later, a hauntingly similar story is unfolding. A parent is on the run yet again, and the children are dead, and the public is wondering why. What is happening? This isn't just about Travis Decker. It's not about Susan Smith. This is about a pattern. Susan Smith claimed her car was hijacked by a stranger. Days passed. Her tears ran on national television, but the truth was unimaginable. She killed her own sons herself. Susan Smith claimed her car was hijacked by a stranger. Days passed. Her tears ran on national television, but the truth was unimaginable. She killed the sons herself. Fast forward to 2025. Travis Decker's daughters are also found dead. Travis disappears into the wilderness and is still on the run. Authorities fear that he planned it all. Some believe he never intended to survive, and others think he's out there and he is watching all of us. Both stories begin the same way: a custody struggle, a broken relationship, and a parent losing control. Let's listen to Travis Decker's court records. This is courtesy of Fox News from the Travis Decker case.
So, tell me why you don't agree that there is adequate cause to move forward with the trial regarding the parenting plan.
I already only get a day and a half, 2 days with my daughters, and
I only get 1.5 or 2 days with my daughters. Now he doesn't get any.
and it's 2 nights. It's a Friday night, Saturday night, and because of my current job and the current location, I'm in Idaho working. I'm in the union as a carpenter, and so where I go or where the work is where I go. And through the new parenting plan, it takes away basically all my opportunities to be around the girls when I'm not at work. Holidays and things like that. If I have the opportunity to be there for my daughters, I feel like I should be able to be there for them and not have to.
So you were there for your daughters in the woods, and then you decided to tie their hands together, put bags over their heads, and now you never get to see them again?
Fight my way to be in and around my daughters. I don't believe that my weekends should be completely taken away since I have been gone. Every time I've had the girls, we have been in campsites in national forests and paid campsites that have campers. We've never done anything that was unsafe or anything I wouldn't want to put myself in. I understand that my current...
Anything I wouldn't want to put myself in. Would you put a bag over your own head? I mean, I guess that's a possibility. They haven't found him. They found evidence that he is still alive, though, or they believe that he is still alive.
Position when I'm by myself isn't ideal, but my daughters aren't a part of that. I only get to see them over the weekends, and camping is something that the four of us have done since the three of them were in diapers. Actually in Columbus, Georgia, we used to go camping every 2 weeks. And so part of our time together is getting out into the nature and riding horses and experiencing things. And on the weekends that I have not been able to provide shelter, or the weekends that I've stayed at the house with Whitney and the girls because I wasn't going to try to drag them into a situation that would have been unsafe. I've never done anything I feel like that puts them in any sort of a risk that most families in the state of Washington, every campsite we've been to in the last month have been almost completely booked out or sold out.
Now, we heard about Travis Decker. Let's listen to Susan Smith in court.
The other big case back in the headlines today. Susan Smith denied release from prison. You may remember she was convicted of murdering her 2 young sons in South Carolina in 1994. Smith strapped her 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex into her car and let it roll into a lake. This case touched the nation, with many calling those young victims America's children. At first, Smith claimed a man had stolen her car with the boys inside. She later confessed and was convicted to life in prison. Under the law in place at the time, she'd be eligible for parole after 30 years, which brings us to today. In court, Smith cried as she expressed how sorry she is. She said she'd do anything to go back and change what she did. But the boy's father pleaded with the South Carolina Parole Board to keep her behind bars, which they did. Local News Live correspondent Grace Runkle spoke to David Smith ahead of today's hearing.
I would like to say to whoever has my children.
Okay, seriously? This is the first time I'm seeing this. By the way, courtesy of WBTV. So this is Susan Smith, back 30 years ago, talking to the press, begging whoever has her children when she's the one that rolled her car with the children strapped in into the water?
That they please bring them home.
30 years ago, David Smith stood alongside the mother of his children as she pleaded for the return of their little boys. Today, he has a different plea.
That would be a total injustice if she was to get out. That wouldn't be any justice to Michael and Alex.
On an October night in 1994, Susan Smith strapped their sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, into their car seats. Then she let the car roll down a boat ramp and into a lake. For 9 days, she lied to her estranged husband, her family, her community, and the nation, saying a black man carjacked her and took off with the boys inside. Then the truth came out. A jury found her guilty, but voted on giving her a life sentence instead of the death penalty.
We are disappointed, but it wasn't our choice on what penalty she was to receive.
A disappointment David says he still feels to this day.
It was just such a terrible thing that she did. And then her trying to get away with it for 9 days, trying to lie and cover it up. I still think she should have got the death penalty.
When Susan Smith was sentenced to life, South Carolina law was different. It meant she could have the chance at parole in 30 years. The jury was not allowed to know this.
I have people now, in the last few months, have said they saw stuff on TV about the parole coming up. And they were like, I thought she got life in prison. I said, no, not at that time. That wasn't an option.
Her parole hearing is set for November 20th, a day David has been dreading for decades.
Has this year been on your mind for a while?
I have been dreading this year for almost 30 years.
His message to those of you watching, remember who was really a victim.
I want to remind people of what she did. And I want them to remember who lost their life. You know, she's still been living for 30 years. Is in prison, but she's still able to wake up every day.
And another message to all of you still praying for him and thinking of his boys.
I've been fortunate and blessed with 2 more children. I am married now. The pain isn't there like it used to be.
Happy birthday, dear Alex.
So let's talk about the narcissistic wound. Psychologists have a term for this familicide linked to a narcissistic collapse. In similar terms, the parent doesn't kill out of rage alone, but because they believe the child is an extension of themselves. What the identity is threatened, like through divorce or loss of custody, some of them implode or explode. Susan couldn't have the life that she wanted, so she removed the obstacles. Travis, we don't know his full motive yet, but his final days reveal signs of unraveling paranoia, erratic behavior, and manipulative internet searches as well. And look at the court history. So here's the terrifying truth. This is the pattern that nobody wants to see. Let's talk about, these are not isolated cases. There's John B., who shot his 2 daughters while on the phone with his ex-wife. There's Chris Watts, who murdered his entire family and calmly went to work the next day. Then, again, you have Susan Smith and Travis Decker, names that echoed a chilling reality. Parents can be predators too. And often there were warning signs, but no one intervened. I do believe Whitney did intervene. She took Travis to court. However, the court still gave Travis part custody. So what now? What do? We need to stop treating these cases like shocking exceptions. They are systemic failures of mental health support, of the court system, of how we monitor high-risk custody cases. And as Travis Decker remains missing, we're left wondering, could this have been prevented? And who's next? Let's talk about a call to action here. If you found this heartbreaking, eye-opening, please share this video. Let's start calling out the signs before the headlines. Comment below. Do you think Travis Decker is still alive? Or was this always his ending? And if you want a full psychological profile breakdown of Travis Decker compared to Susan Smith, hit subscribe, because that's coming next. Justice starts with awareness.